In today's episode of the Elm Hill City Zoo, we will build a walk-through greenhouse for the butterflies. And we'll also add the insect garden that will showcase the native insects of the area where our zoo is located. Hello guys, this is Cesar Creates, and welcome back to my channel. In today's episode of the Elm Hill City Zoo, we will finally build something for the butterflies. Butterflies were of course added to the game quite recently with the new Grasslands animal pack, and this is the second animal that can be housed in the walkthrough exhibit. The first being the Egyptian fruit bat from the previous Twilight DLC. The walkthrough exhibits are one of my favorite new feature added recently to the game, and of course I had to build something for the butterflies in our Elm Hill City Zoo. As I told you guys during the last tour of the zoo, I planned to add the butterflies next to the building that we already had, and I'm talking about the insect house that we've built some time ago in the zoo. So I thought that it made sense to add the butterflies, to add them to this house or to add them next to it. I considered like making the insect house bigger to house butterflies somewhere in there, but I just couldn't make it work, so I decided to build something next to this house that will house the butterflies. The other idea was also to build like a meadow or like a garden for the butterflies to have them flying freely. I saw some people doing this, utilizing this idea, but in the end I kind of decided to mix those two ideas, and this is what today's episode will be all about. So firstly we'll build a greenhouse for those more exotic species of butterflies. This will be the walkthrough greenhouse for our guests. And second, in the second part of the speed build, we will build the insect gardens that will be located in the front of our new greenhouse, and in there we'll have some free flying butterflies. We are building this zoo in Europe, as I told you guys so many times already. I don't know exactly where, but somewhere in the temperate biome. So we have those European peacocks. Those are very common in here, at least in my country. During the summer you can spot them everywhere. So I decided to incorporate those in the outside garden and make them free fly in there, but you will be able to see all of that later in the video. Right now we are focusing on our greenhouse. So the moment that I decided not to add the butterflies to the existing insect house but to build something for them, I of course started to look for some inspirations and so on. And I actually remember that when I was in high school, I think, I visited London and I visited the Natural History Museum in London. I still remember it was quite impressive, quite nice experience, but I also remember that next to the this museum, the Natural History Museum of London, there was this temporary display or something for the butterflies. So they had this greenhouse. I think it was only operating during the summer months, and yeah, you could buy an additional ticket for this experience. You could go walk through the greenhouse and see all of the butterflies. I remember that this was quite a amazing experience to see, because there were tons of them in there. I think it was called something like sensational butterflies or something like that. I don't know if you've been there or you are from London and you know what I'm talking about. Definitely let me know down in the comments, because I would love to hear if some of you visited it just as me, and let me know if it's still there. I have been to London last year, but I haven't been in the area of the Natural History Museum. so I didn't got the chance to see that, but maybe it's still there, I'm not sure. If you could confirm it in the comments, it would be amazing. So yeah, this was what really inspired me to build the thing that you are seeing here on the screen. Of course, the greenhouse in London, it wasn't so like solid, it wasn't like all made of glass and those like you know, metal beams and so on. It was just like a temporary structure that was used during the summer months, and probably it was stored somewhere during the colder months, so they were just, you know, building it over and over again every summer. But I wanted to have something more like permanent that will be there, so I decided to go for something more solid. When I did some trials for this build, I also tried to build something with this new fine mesh pieces, I think that they are called, that were added to the game with the Grasslands Animal Pack to build those enclosures for the butterflies, but I quite didn't like the look of it. And then I decided that, you know, I am often telling you that the Elm Hill City Zoo is a mixture of the modern and older architecture, that it is a very old zoo that still has those really old buildings that they are utilizing. For example, there was this mansion next to where we are building in this more classical style, and they decided to make an insect house inside of it. And I decided that this contrast between this very classical and older like mansion and this very modern like greenhouse next to it will look really nice. And I must say that you will see that in the cinematic shots by the end, but it will look really nice. I am very pleased with how it has turned out. I really wanted to have like this oval shape of the entire greenhouse. I thought it would look really nice, and I was kind of like not wrong. The exhibit box for the walkthrough habitat is quite big, so I decided to make it a little bit smaller. Like I of course cut it a bit, the upper like corners by using the curved or the oval shape. I must say that there is, because I was quite slightly concerned that the butterflies will clip through this glass structure, and there's one sneaky butterfly that has this looped animation that is flying through it. You cannot really see. I think that on one of the cinematic shots you are actually able to see that, so if you'll catch it, definitely let me know down in the comments on which timestamp it is, and I will try to confirm it or not. But there's this one sneaky like pesky butterfly that was so annoying to me, because it is the only animation in there in the entire exhibit that was clipping through our glass. So this guy is able to escape for a bit and then come back to our greenhouse, but okay, you cannot really see that. So at the beginning of the video you guys could see me firstly like measuring the structure to make it the same size as the walkthrough exhibit, then creating the bit that will be outside, that will hold the glass, and the construction pieces that will be inside. I am quite, like, maybe not quite, but a bit sure that this is how this structure should be like supported, and this would simply work, but I am no architect by any means, or a constructor or anyone like that, so I hope that it will work. We also add some additional beams for support in the interior of the building, and of course I wanted to make it look like circular, so I just copied it over in a circle. You could also see that at the beginning of the video. Then I of course made it, just copied the structure over and over again till I was happy with the size of it, and I added some like straight glass pieces down there to make it look like, to make it a bit higher, and to just not make it like a complete circle, so it's more like an oval shape. Then I added those walls on the sides of the building. It was quite a struggle, I must say. You can see probably my fourth attempt here of building them. It was so hard to, I really wanted to make it a glass, and that was a problem because you don't have too many of those like circular or I don't know, curved pieces, glass pieces in the game, so I had to either just leave some of the parts of this wall without any glass, so it was really visible that you had some, you know, just holes in it, or I had to like layer many pieces of the glass on top of each other, and it also didn't look right. In the end, I finally found those like curved glass pieces from the modern glass set. It is still not perfect, but I think it works. I'm using the glass on the upper part of those walls, and down on the outside of the building there will be those metal, I think that they are aluminium sheets or something like that. I really love those pieces. I wish that we had more of those. I mean more, I don't know, bigger sizes or smaller sizes, because the texture of this aluminium is so nice. And yeah, in the inside I will use the concrete walls in this like beige bronze color, something like that. The inside of the walkthrough exhibit and those walls were kind of inspired by my recent visit to the Copenhagen Zoo, where I visited many of the walkthrough exhibits in there. They had one for the sloth, they had one for the birds, I think, also for the butterflies as well. So they had a lot of those concrete walls there, and it was kind of like you know, overgrown by plants and so on. So this was what I was going for. I must say that I really had a problem with naming this structure. I thought about naming it a butterfly house or just a butterfly exhibit, but then I sort of thought that there's a word like greenhouse, and I just, you know, went to check the definition of the greenhouse, and I think that we can actually call it that way. So the definition of the greenhouse is the building designed for the protection of tender or out of the season plants against the excessive cold. Inside of the greenhouse, there is a controlled environment adapted to the needs of particular plants. Large greenhouses are important in agriculture and for botanical science, while smaller structures are commonly used by hobbyists, collectors, and home gardeners. So yeah, I think that this is exactly it. We'll have tons and tons of plants in here. Of course, some of the exotic ones, and we'll have exotic butterflies, and there will be a controlled environment in here. So even during the winter time, it will be heated, so it will have the right temperature and the right level of humidity for plants and for the butterflies. So yeah, the greenhouse seems to be the perfect name. Let me know down again in the comments if I am right or not. As you guys know, I am not a native English speaker, so if I am using some, you know, weird or wrong words to call some things, definitely let me know down in the comments. It's always nice to learn something. I am still learning English all of my life, so I'm always very thankful that when you guys give me some tips on how to call something or how to use different words and so on. After I was done with the main part of the entire structure, I had to build some entrances, the entrance and the exit. So you could see me do just that. I've used the doors that we did last time for the walkthrough exhibits for the wallabies. I just changed the mesh that was in there for the glass, because of course this is a greenhouse, there's a lot of glass, so I thought that it will just work better and will help to control the environment inside of the greenhouse. And I also wanted to have some like oval shapes in the entrances, so I used this piece from the modern glass set, I think, and of course surrounded the entire entrance area and the exit area with some concrete pieces. And I also added the signs for the entrance and exit using the font that you'll find on the workshop. This is made by Christina, and I will put the link down in the description of the video. Then I started to work on the entrance area of the greenhouse. So the guests enter to the actual building, and first they have this like airlock or something like that. There are a lot of plants already because we are slowly emerging to this like a tropical environment, but there are also a lot of information signs for the guests to read something about the butterflies. I think that this is so important when you are building building a zoo, because my recent like zoo trips, they only like just ensured me that there cannot be too less of the info signs. So whenever I can, I am always adding those blueprints from the workshop or the custom billboards with some of my designs that I did for this building. So in the entrance area, there will be some information about the butterflies that live in this greenhouse. There will be also an information about the opening times of the butterfly greenhouse, and we'll have some list of the forbidden things that I just copy throughout the entire zoo. I probably should change it, because we have, for example, a sign that you cannot have your dog inside of there, which should be on the entrance of the zoo, not on every building inside. Because if you couldn't enter with your dog, how the hell you would suddenly have it inside of the zoo? So we don't need them on every building. I had some empty space in there, so I decided to add some planters. I added those terracotta planters from the conservation pack, and I added some of the more tropical plants, and also I created my own custom plants using this lords and ladies plant. I just love this plant so much. You can create so many different things about it, and I think it brings this like very I don't know, tropical almost vibe to the build. So I am very happy with how I was able to utilize it in this build. Then I started to work on the doors that will lead the guests to the main part of the greenhouse where the butterflies will freely fly. And those doors, you just see very small footage of what I had to do in there. I just don't know, I couldn't make the doors that I would like for it. When it comes to the whole interior of this building, I should probably start with it. I imagine that it will be very like humid, very moist, like a very just humid and moist. So it will be hard to keep very clean because of the water like dripping of there will be the entire like this misting system in this building that we'll build in a second. So I wanted to make it look a bit like worn out, like a bit dirty almost. So we'll be using here a lot of decals inside. So I thought that when we are just, you know, working with this like very humid environment, we shouldn't probably use, for example, wooden doors, because, you know, wood and moist, this is not the best combination. You would have to maintain the door a lot, like the woods a lot, to make it look nice. So I decided to go for the metal, and we don't have too many nice metal pieces in the game. I don't know, there are so many wooden pieces. You can build crazy stuff with wood. When it comes to the metal pieces, there's really not a huge selection of them. So I wish that maybe in the next DLC or something they would add some of those. So I did something crazy in here that I never do. I channeled my inner leader, and I decided to use the font pieces. I think it was the very first time for me using the font pieces to build something. So I built the door partially using the font pieces, and I am very pleased with the final result. We'll also add some decals on the doors to make them look a bit more like used and so on. And yeah, and after that, again, a different thing that took some of the time and different attempts, because I had so many ideas on how to build that. And I'm talking here about the Chrysalis Display. This was something that I really wanted to add here. We had this like entire entrance airlock done, and we also had the the exit one on the other side, and I had to find some idea for it. I didn't want to add just a planter, and I thought that, yeah, I remember that in this walkthrough exhibit in London they had something like that. So I found a photo of it, and I almost entirely recreated it. At first I wanted to go for something like mine creation or something like that, or something inspired by what Leaf did, because I remember that when he did his butterfly house he did something like that, and I think it was like actually a blueprint by Bolt, so shout out to them for inspiring me to build something like this. But I decided to more or less recreate that, the one that I saw in London. So we'll have those like green planks and some of those chrysalis hanging from there. The chrysalis is kind of a new word for me. I didn't know that it exists. I always thought that those are called cocoons, and suddenly there's a chrysalis. I don't know, maybe it's a more like a fancy or scientific name for the cocoon, but yeah, let me know in the comments down below if there's any difference between the chrysalis and the cocoon. I don't think so, but maybe there is one. Also, I never learned the life circle of the butterflies in English, so yeah, maybe it's a commonly used term, but I am very new to the chrysalis word. But yeah, I had a slight problem on how to do the actual chrysalis or the cocoons. I was looking for different smaller pieces, and I found this like I don't know how the piece is called, but it is from the Euro pack. You can change this is a metal piece, like a small like ornamental metal piece. You can change the color of that, so I changed it into green, and it kind of looks okay from certain like angles. It kind of looks like this cocoons like hanging, so I was quite happy with that. On the top of this display I did a little planter, and I also added more billboards like the butterfly life circle to this exit airlock, and also I added like a donation box for the guests to donate to help save the insects, because some of the insects are really like struggling out there, and they're really like vital for our existence, such as bees and other smaller creatures that help to pollinate the flowers, and without pollinating the flowers cannot produce fruits and so on. You probably know, guys, what I'm talking about, but this is becoming an issue, so we should do something about it, and you can donate in our zoo to help and save them. So yeah, this was basically all when it comes to the airlocks, and then I moved on to working on the actual walkthrough exhibit for our exotic butterflies. So we'll have 4 different tropical species of butterflies living in there. Let me check if I actually remember the names. So we have, for example, the monarch butterfly, we have the blue morpho, we have the swallowtail, and we have the cloudless sulfur. So yeah, I can remember them. And I, of course, added the maximum amount of the butterflies in there, so they are still happy. This is 90 of them, so quite a lot. But I knew that we will really fill this place with a lot of plants, so I really wanted the butterflies to be still visible, and that's why I added so many. And also I was a bit afraid that adding so many details in there will make the butterflies like clip through everything and it won't look bad, but in the end you just don't pay attention to that at all, because there's so many things going on that I didn't really pay attention to them, you know, clipping through the palm trees or other like bushes that I added in there. By the way, there is a bench inside of there for a second inside of the exhibit. I just learned that you can actually add those inside. I am not sure if the guests will be able to use it. I cannot test it because we don't have guests in Elm Hill City Zoo. But if you guys were wondering, we can add benches, we can add bins and all those things inside of the exhibit. I'm just not sure if they will be sitting on them, so if you can confirm that, definitely let me know down in the comments. So my idea for the inside of the greenhouse. So this was my first initial idea when I thought of building for the butterflies, even before I came up with the idea for this greenhouse. I really wanted to challenge myself to blend the entire walkthrough exhibit to the structure that I will build so much that you won't probably even be... If you didn't know about the existence of those huge walkthrough exhibits, you probably wouldn't know that it is there. For me, what is the biggest eyesore inside of those exhibits is the like straight white path in the middle of it. I would love to have some variation, or just to be able to, I don't know, place the path myself, so it could be a little like curved, or there'll be some more interesting, I know, paths inside or anything like that, we can do this, but I decided to challenge myself to do it anyway. So I wanted to create those like elevated planters or something like that and add them in different shapes and sizes inside, so that they will also be on the actual path inside of the exhibit, so the path won't be so straight, it will have a more interesting like shape, more like a bit messy and a bit more like natural and just realistic. I think, and I hope it works that way, that even if I will add things on the path and then I will add the curbs or the barriers for the guests, they won't go through it, because the path inside works like a regular path that you have outside of the exhibit, so I just hope that it will work. So again, if someone could check that and confirm that for me, I would really be obliged. I would just be so thankful. Wow, I'm actually asking you guys for a lot of feedback in this video, but I am pretty convinced that it will actually work, that we actually can add those barriers inside of the exhibit and the guests won't be able to walk through them. So this is what I decided to do, and I wanted to change the shape of the path using the elevated planters, as I told you guys before. So we are creating those planters from those small faux aquatic rocks, and as the filling between those rocks we'll have some decal pieces. I already did walls like that. I think I did it for the first time for our red crown crane aviary, but I didn't use those decal pieces in between, so sometimes you could see that there are holes in there and you could see through it and so on, so I wanted to make sure that this time it won't be an issue. So you could see me building 4 different variation of that wall, so it won't be so repetitive inside of the actual greenhouse. And of course then we'll create those planters, add different levels in there, so it all looks more interesting, not so flat, more like tropical overgrown thing. You will see that with the foliage later on, that, you know, some plants will be cascading from one planter to another and will look really nice. So when I was done with the construction of those planters, I added the mulch pieces in there. I skipped that part because it was so much work and I didn't want to bore you guys with that. And now we will add some more of those construction things, like those poles inside of there, to give a bit more support to the structure. And also, as I told you guys before, I will build my own misting system for this greenhouse. So we'll have those sprinklers up there that will mist the entire place when the plants need that. We will also add lamps, so we'll have some electrical like wires and this electrical box using the how is it called, the heater. Yeah, the heater upside down. You get this like really nice texture of the electric box, so I love using that. I'm not sure, I think that I learned it from Zoof. Yeah, Zoof in the Elm Hill City Zoo. So yeah, there will be this electric box, and also I forgot to tell you that I will create the actual sprinklers from the hinge pieces. This is such a nice little detail. I think that it really adds to the whole realistic aspect of this house and of this build. And those are the things that made me just work on this so long. I apologize to you guys that you had to wait so much for this new video. I just had again a lot of work. I was a bit tired. I also told you quite some time ago that I decided to go back to the gym and work out, so I am doing it almost every day, so I have this like a bit less time, and also I am sometimes a bit tired after that, so I go to bed earlier. So that's why you had to wait a bit longer for this video, and also I just wanted to make it right. I just wanted to make it look nice and wanted to, you know, add so many details that I did to this house, and I think it looks really good with all those details, like the sprinklers, like the lamps, like the cables on the walls and so on. And also things like the emergency exit signs, the fire extinguisher, and so on. Those were not made by me. This is the wonderful blueprint, the safety pack by Shift C. Really detailed and really like amazing work on that. Shift C is just master on those like sets of blueprints for example, elevators and different stuff, toilets. I just love those blueprints. They are super useful, so I also decided to use them in here. And after that, I will move on to adding plants inside of this whole greenhouse. So it will be very lush, very dense. And of course, I had to focus on adding flowers, because this is what our lovely butterflies eat, so they have to have a lot of them in here. When it comes to the flowers in Planet Zoo, the recent ones added with DLCs, I must say that I like, but there are a lot of different flowers from the base game that just don't look good. They are very like cartoony, or they have like this really low quality compared to other like things and other plants in Planet Zoo, so I don't really use them a lot. But here I still used some because I just had to. So you will see a lot of flowers in there, and you will see a lot of exotic plants mixed together. Later on, I will also add a lot of decals on the walls and on the edge of the path and on the path to make it look a bit more blended with the surroundings, and also just a bit more dirty, a bit more moist, and so on. Now when I think about it, I could also add some puddles in here, but I didn't really do that. I don't know why. I should have, but still without the puddles it looks really nice. I think that I am really glad that I took my time to build this, because I think that I was able to come up with something like rather unique and nice looking. Yeah, I really hope that you guys will enjoy today's video, because it is certainly a longer one. I know that this is just so many details. We'll also build a garden, not a house, a garden for insects in a second. But also I got some comments in the giraffe video, or you guys would like to see even longer videos without the cuts. So I kind of tried to do it a bit here. I of course carried out some footage of planting, of I don't know, doing the curbs later on. So this is just repetitive, doing the same things over and over again. But still, I wanted to keep a lot of this footage. Still, I was able to cut out a lot, because the initial speed build was almost 2 hours, believe me or not. Yeah, so I was able to cut out a lot of different plants and stuff like that. But I hope you enjoy the longer video. We'll see. I know that some people prefer longer, some people prefer shorter ones, so we'll see how this video will be doing. And I hope you guys are happy that you can spend a little more time with me on this beautiful day. So what we'll still do in the greenhouse, we'll add the plants, we'll add the decals, as I told you guys, we'll add some different details like hoses, like decals on the walls. And that will be probably it when it comes to the greenhouse, and then we'll move on to building the outside insect garden. But before that, I just wanted to share with you guys some very exciting news, at least for me, maybe not for you as much, but for me they're super exciting. I already posted about this on my social media, so you could see the story on Instagram and a tweet about this. If you are not following me on those social media, you are definitely missing out, so the links are down in the description. So as I shared with you guys quite some time ago already, but I still didn't have a chance to talk about it in my videos. At the end of the April, I am going for a 3-week vacation. So what it means? It means that we won't have videos for quite a long time, but I hope you guys will be able to forgive me. But I am super excited, because I am making one of my biggest dreams come true. I've always wanted to see California, to see Nevada, to see the Grand Canyon, to see the Bryce Canyon, to see the Death Valley, the Yosemite Valley, the Sequoia Park, the Joshua Tree, and all of those places. So I really cannot wait. And yeah, this is what I have planned. And I'm basically, as I told you guys, making my big dream come true. I am doing this because in April I have quite a big anniversary. I mean, quite a big birthday. I will get old. So no, maybe some of you know how old I am, but this is quite a big number, like it ends with the 0. So I really wanted to like celebrate that a bit more, like do something more crazy, something more grand. And yeah, I am doing it. I am taking some of my friends, like I'm not taking them, but we are all coming together. They also wanted to go for a trip like that. We are renting a car and we are doing this huge road trip, so I cannot wait for that. But the exciting news is that on the first day, actually on the second day, I think, or day of the entire trip, I will visit the San Diego Zoo, and on the next day probably San Diego Safari. So I really cannot wait for that. This is one of the greatest zoos in the world. They have so many species. The zoo is beautiful. This is such a huge inspiration for me and for my channel. So I really cannot wait to see it. I know that I'll be just over flooded with inspiration after that visit. And this is the only place outside of the Australia where they have the platypus, as I told you guys in the platypus video. So yeah, I cannot wait, and I'm very excited to see the platypus and to see this entire zoo in general. They also have this new explorer village or something like that, and they actually have the walkthrough butterfly exhibit. So yeah, I will for sure do the tour of the zoo. I will again post it on my Insta stories. So if you like to see it, definitely stay tuned. And also, would you be interested in seeing some of the photos of my trip? I am still considering if I should use, my social media, my Caesar Create social media for some of my more private stuff, like trips and so on. I know that some other, content creators do that. Some just, use the profiles to just, game-related things. But I can for sure share with you guys some of the photos of my tour if you guys will be interested. So definitely let me know down in the comments. So yeah, no videos for quite a long time, for 3 weeks. I will try to pre-record something. I will see if I will be able to. But yeah, I'm making my large dream come true. And I hope you guys are as excited as I am for the tour around the San Diego Zoo and the San Diego Safari Park that I will do for sure on my social media. So yeah, this is the exciting news, and I am also very certain, I am for sure certain that I will be very inspired by the whole nature of this region. I mean, this is the main reason that I wanted to see those places. Of course, we'll also see some cities like LA, San Francisco. We plan to go to Palm Springs, of course, Las Vegas and stuff like that. But the main thing that excites me the most is the nature, like the canyons, the valleys, the sequoias, all that stuff, the deserts. I'm certain that I will be so inspired by those things, and I will try to, of course, recreate some of those landscapes in the game. And if you have any tips for me, if you have been on such a road trip, or if you are just living there, definitely comment down below, give me some recommendations, tell me what I should see, what I shouldn't see, and stuff like that. This is all very useful. Okay, but as you guys can see, we started to work on the actual garden for the insects. So this is quite common in, for example, bigger parks. I know some zoos also have it. So there's a lot of plants just planted by humans, a lot of plants especially with different flowers and so on, and they attract the local insects that just live in those areas. So you can just go through those parks or through those gardens and see a lot of bees, of butterflies, of flies, of, I don't know, dragonflies and different stuff like that. So I was really inspired by something like this, and I really wanted to utilize the walkthrough exhibit also outside. And also we will cheat a bit here and incorporate the walkthrough exhibit so you don't really see it. So again, I made the path in the exhibit a little bit like narrower using those plants that will be there. I only showed you the beginning how I do the curb, and I didn't show you how I fill those planters with the mulch because it was just so much work. This garden took me so much time. You just cannot even believe that how much time it took. I think like, I don't know, 7 hours of building it because yeah, a very precise work and a lot of plants that went there. But yeah, I would cheat a bit by adding those fake paths using the plaster pieces. I just made it the plaster pieces like the closest color to the concrete path that we have in the game. I really wish that we have, for example, those pieces for the I don't know, tree bark path or for any other path to make it look a bit more like natural, but I had to use the concrete, and I think it looks nice, but the more natural path would look even better. So I used a lot of those maybe fake implemented like paths in there, so they are not reusable, but they help to blend the walkthrough exhibit in there so much. I also use this Q path trick to do some of the narrower paths that the guests will actually be able to use. At first you guys could see me trying to use the gravel path, and I wanted to use those gravel props that are hidden in the game, but it didn't look nice for those, for those narrower paths. But so then I decided to go for concrete, and yeah, we'll add tons of different plants. We'll actually cover those things, those little huts for the butterflies that I think look cool inside of the greenhouse, but in the open air thing like this, they don't look good. They just look weird. So I covered them with some small saplings, and then I went on to adding tons of plants. And also what we'll do is add some information about the different plants and insects using the custom signs by Lion. They are also from the workshop, so I'll put the link down in the description if you guys would like to use it. And I'll also add a little bee garden, so we'll have bees in here, and having bees in the zoo is really helpful. For example, when you have birds, sunbirds, and different animals that like the honey, the keepers will often use it as enrichment for the animals, or just, you know, a treat for them. So it is always nice to have those beehives or bee houses, I don't really know what is the name, in your zoo. So this is what we'll do. And those beehives or bee houses are made by Haribo. This is not my creation. I just found them on the workshop and I thought that they look so nice. And of course it saved me some time to build it. So again, the link will be down in the description of the video. And what I also did was adding a lot of decals on those smaller paths just to make it look more like used, dirty, and also if there's some wind, some of the dirt may be just, you know, blown out of those planters, so it's a bit more dirty. And yeah, just imagine like walking through this little garden with those small narrow paths, looking at some insects, at some butterflies and stuff like that. I think it will be very fun experience. I also added those elevated planters in there for some you know, different height variations, because I thought it's a bit boring without them. What I also did, and what you guys will be able to see in the cinematic shots by the end of the video, is add some smaller details to the insect house that is next to it. We've built it so much time ago when we didn't have the decal pieces. We also have better plants right now, so I sort of remodeled the the front of it. I added some new plants and also added some more details to the roof of the building, and right now I think it looks way better. And I must say that coming back to your older builds and improving them feels very good, so I may do that from time to time. Also, this whole part of the zoo is going along pretty nicely. We'll soon finish it. We still need to add the American bison and the reptile house, so after that the whole like this right part of our zoo will be finished. But yeah, this is basically all when it comes to this episode. We are almost at the end of the speed build, and the cinematic shots are coming, so before they will come, let me thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video. Give this video a big thumbs up down below, and of course leave me a nice comment if you liked today's episode. If you like to support the channel a little bit extra, you can do it with the join button down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!